So I started going to the park after school, and I would have about 100 kids at the park. I'd buy pizza for everybody and help them with their homework or just talk, because all they needed was to be able to be listened to.
Wow, that's amazing. Words Matter with John Maurice. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Words Matter with John Maurice. I'm your host, John Maurice, and today is an amazing episode. You're going to love my next guest. I am so happy to call her my friend. This is a real friend. This is not a Hollywood friend. This is someone that we share time with, been to my house. We know each other, relationship. So please, without further ado, my guest, before I say that, I don't want to say the name just yet. Let me just tell you a little bit about her. Not only is she my friend, but she is the true essence of the word philanthropist. I think I said that word right. Philanthropist. Philanthropist. She is a true that. She is the essence of the word agape love. She deals with energy work. She is the founder of Healing Hearts ministry. She helps people. I can't say I know a better human being than this lady right here. Please welcome to Words Matter, my friend, Miss Yolanda Medrano.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
No.
For your beautiful words, but I'm just a reflection of you.
We're a reflection of each other, and we know each other, and I didn't even realize that I have some things going on, and you was like, your energy is off, and you got to do that too. How you do the energy and pulling out the bad stuff.
We have to. We all have those gifts. We just got to open up. I mean, think about it. What does the Bible call our body if it's not a temple? And what flows through a temple if it's not Holy Spirit? So some of us decide to open our temples, and some of us don't. And I just decided to open my temple.
Yeah, I'm opening mine. Lord, help me.
There you go.
Yeah, 'cause I need all the help I can get. I want to just be the best representation of myself in flesh until I go transition on into my energy. So anyway, thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Let's dive into this because we got a lot to talk about,
Yes, we do.
So tell me, how did you start into the Healing Heart Ministries and all of that? I know you started for a long time. It's when you were 16 years old.
I've been working with youth. So it's Healing Hearts nonprofit. It's a movement that I'm trying to start here. And I started at 16 years old is when the first time that I really started to go out and try to see what's going on with our youth, because I had little brothers that were involved in gangs. And I knew that that's not what we wanted to do. So at 16 was the first time that I started working at schools, just volunteering. And that's also when my seizure disorder started. So it was very crucial for me to prove to myself that even though I had a disability that they wanted to call it, I can still go on and start doing things. Mm-hmm. So I worked in Long Beach, California. That's where I started helping the youth. But here in Vegas, I started at J.D. Smith because my daughter was a cutter. I found out that she was cutting in school. And when she told me that there was 15 other young ladies doing the same thing, I had an urge of going to the school and saying, I need to talk to these young ladies. They told me, you can't just come in and talk to them as a mother. That's not going to be okay. You need to come in as an entity or as an LLC or a nonprofit. I had no idea what that was because I really didn't know much about what to do. I just knew I had to go talk to these young ladies. Mm-hmm. So I looked up about the nonprofit, ended up paying all my fees, and I'm like, okay, I'll be a nonprofit. And Healing Hearts was the name that was given to me to put, and that's what I did because that's what I wanted to do, is heal these young ladies' hearts. So once I had the nonprofit, I went into the school, and I had a curriculum that took me a whole year for me to get back into the school. I wrote a curriculum called Your Story Matters, and I volunteered my time at that school for about 8 months before I got kicked out of the school.
Okay.
And I got kicked out because I had 4 periods. I was doing this volunteer. I wasn't getting paid for it. I had 4 periods of what they considered the bad kids. Kids that were ditching school, kids that were in gangs, kids that were living in foster care and that weren't being obedient in school. So my first period class, the way that it was introduced to me was, these are the kids that can't be in any classes or special eds or being teacher's aide because they do bad things. That's how this teacher introduced them to me. So I clapped and I said, nice to meet you guys. You guys are leaders but don't know where to lead. So it took me about 2 weeks to finally get them to trust me. I take my shoes off everywhere I go, so that was the first thing that they thought was pretty weird. I go into the classroom and I told them, what do you guys want to change? And I had a 13-year-old raise his hand and he said, I want to change this. When he pulled down his shirt, he had purple on his shirt. He was trying to kill himself every single month because that was the only way that he got attention from his parents. So I took him outside and I put my hand out and I told him, don't shake my hand if you're not willing to make changes. I said, but when you are, my hand is right here. And I'm going to help you if you want to help yourself. He said, I'm not ready to shake your hand yet. Okay. 2 weeks passed by. He comes in and he says, look at my new kicks, miss. I got some new shoes. But he smelled like weed. I said, all right. I said, you got weed on you? And he looks at me. And he said, I got to sell 2/8 because the Godfather got me my shoes. I'm like, talk to me about this Godfather. He says, well, there's a Godfather in the community. He'll buy his clothes and shoes, but we got to sell some 8s for him. Okay. I said, so after school, take me to him. He needs to meet the godmother. So he took me to him. And I paid what that young man owed for his shoes. And I told the gentleman, I'm trying to get these kids out of gangs. If you can help me, any kid that needs anything, send them to me. We don't want them selling any weed. We don't want them selling any drugs. That guy was not happy the first time, but when I told him my story, he says, okay, if you're really trying to make these kids change, then I won't help them sell them anymore. But if I see that they're still selling from other people, then I'm going to let you know, and I'm going to use them to sell my weed. Okay, it's a deal. I go back to school, and what happened is that day that I talked to this young man, a mother was coming in, so she smelled the weed. She went and told the dean, there's weed in that classroom. I smelled it. So the dean, of course, calls me in 2 days after I did what I had to do. And he says, I need the name of the young man that had the weed. I couldn't give him the name because it took me so long to have them trust me.
Right.
So now I'm going to give the name and get him in trouble. I said, I can't do that, but I took care of it. And I told him about the Godfather. I'm like, look, this is what's going on, but I took care of it. I need you to give me the name because if you don't give me the name, you can't be here at the school. This happened in school. We need to know.
It didn't happen in school. It just happened. The aroma was
in the school. Yeah, was on him at that time. So I told him I can't do that. And for not doing that, he says, I can't have you come back to the school. I said, okay. There was a park next door to the school. I would see my kids every single day. So I started going to the park after school. And I would have about 100 kids at the park. I'd buy pizza for everybody and help them with their homework or just talk. Because all they needed was to be able to be listened to. And to this day, one of these days I want to introduce you. I still talk to about 8 of my boys. I known them since they were 14, 16 years old. Now they're 21.
Wow.
And now they help me do what I do.
Wow, that's amazing.
I take them to the schools as well. So that's how it started, because of my daughter. Because I needed to make sure my daughter was okay and who she was hanging with had to be okay too.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
so then from that point on, what was the next step? I know that you couldn't go back into the schools. And you were at the park. Did people come over and say, what's going on in the park? Or did the school district know?
The school district started seeing that the kids were coming. So I started now getting kids from different schools, because the kids that were coming to my school would tell their friends, hey, we're going to hang out at the park with Miss Yolanda. You want to come? So I started getting 3 different kids coming out from the bus, coming to the park. So we had a lot of mothers that started cooking food because they saw I was spending money I didn't have. I mean, that was my poor husband. I mean, I was spending $150 on pizzas because it was a lot of kids and most of them didn't have food. So I couldn't just give them a slice of pizza and now go home and eat, because I know you're not going to have food at home.
Right.
So with time, mothers started telling me, you can come to my house, bring the kids over to my house. So I started doing that. I was going to different people's homes with the kids, and we'd be outside at 100-degree weather, but with water, whatever. But these kids were always there because I was giving them the attention, the hugs. I couldn't hug them at the school. They said, you can't be hugging them. These kids needed love. They needed hugs.
Right.
So schools weren't the fit for me because of this. So that's why I started going to their homes. And I started seeing, if I don't talk to the parents, I can talk to these kids till I'm blue in the face. And if they go home to people that don't have love, or people that don't know how to love their kids, or people that are also traumatized, it's never going to work. So I started going to the homes, having dinner with the families.
Now, what happened with the kid who was trying to hang himself? Did you ever talk to the parents? Because he was doing that for attention.
Oh, my boy.
If the parents would just
how can you talk to a parent
up?
that's an alcoholic every single day? And how can you talk to a mother that's in the streets every single day? This young man actually would call me and say, "Miss," and move the phone. And I'd see his mother talking to a tree. And he'd tell me, "Do I go take her home or should I go to school?" And that's something I would have to think about. I'm like, "Mijo, do you think she's going to get hurt?" And then he's like, "Oh, never mind. The cops are here. They're going to take her." That's what he had to deal with every day. So right now, he's one of my boys that only calls me when there's issues. And that's okay, because I know that he's very to himself. All of his brothers got locked up, can't find his father, and his mother is there but not there. So it gets pretty hard for him. And what I like about my boys and my young ladies is I won't hear from them for a long time, but when they're having a problem, they'll call so we can pray.
Wow. And so from there, you started doing what? Because I know you do so many different things, and there's so many different outreaches. You help people. I mean, I know some of the stories. You're just helping people who come to you and say, "We need a place to stay," and you're buying them a hotel room or clothes, and
Yeah. What I do now is I started doing the feedings because a lot of this youth, they needed to know how it felt to give back. So a lot of them had to do community service, and I needed to find something to do for them, where they can feel you don't have it that bad, because all of my kids were victims. But I needed to get them out of that victim mentality. And the only way I can do that is by showing them something that's a little bit worse than where you're at right now. And that was taking them to the feedings. And we didn't just feed them. I would sit them all down and tell the homeless people, "I need you to talk to them and tell them why you got here." So the homeless people would start saying, "No, you guys, you don't want to do drugs." So not only were we encouraging the youth, but at the same time, the person that was speaking, they were like, "Wow, I did this to myself. These are the consequences that I had because of the actions I did." So it gave them a chance to really rethink what they were doing. And now I use them as role models. So now they can't go out and be drinking anymore. Because even though they're homeless, sometimes I go pick up a homeless so they can talk to one of my youths. So they feel important now. And I have a couple of my drunk homeless, and I'm like, "Miss Yoli, we can't drink on the first Sunday of every month because we know you're coming." And at first I'm like, "I'm not going to judge you. You don't have to stop drinking." And he's like, "No, we do it for respect because you might need us to talk to one of the youth." So something so little, that to me, that was huge, because they're taking my youth under consideration for them not drinking. They don't have anything else to look forward to. But if they can help somebody, they're going to do it.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I've been thinking about that too, and the growing, I don't even know what to call it, but the homeless. This is a horrible scene. You drive down at any city, you see so many different homeless. I'm like, how did it get to this point? And it seemed like nobody is doing anything. I don't know what the government is doing. Maybe they're doing. Maybe there's programs. Are there the people who are homeless? Is it mental illness? Is it drugs? Is it that they don't want to be controlled and they just want to?
Sometimes
nobody
it's
wants
as
to be.
easy as they need a bus pass to get back to their home where they're loved. We had a young man. I have so many stories to tell you, and I only want to share them because my purpose of doing these podcasts is to have people listen and not ignore my homeless community, not turn the other way when they're walking by, not cross the street when they're coming on this side, because you don't know their story. I had a gentleman, we were all feeding at the park, and when I said, "Okay, it's time for prayer because we pray before we eat," he goes, "Ugh," and walked away. I'm like, okay, so I prayed and I let him walk away. He comes back for water, and I said, "Come here, I want to talk to you." I said, "I noticed that when I prayed, you walked away. Are you mad at God?" He's like, "Man, I don't know if there's a God. If there was a God, this wouldn't be happening to me right now." I said, "Well, what's going on with you?" He said, "I came here to work." He says, "I come from San Francisco. I was living with my boss over there." He says, "I came here to do a job, and my family here were supposed to pick me up on Greyhound." He says, "I get off the bus, I go to the bathroom, I lay my phone down, and my phone is stolen." He said, "So I couldn't call my family. I didn't have a way to call. I don't have social media." He said, "So I've been homeless for 3 weeks. My family never came to pick me up. I don't know who to call." I'm like, "So what do you need?" He says, "I need to get back to San Francisco because I have 2 jobs over there." He says, "And I can't even get a phone to call my boss and let him know what's going on." He says, I didn't memorize any numbers, so I can't call anybody." Okay. So I looked up how much it was to go to San Francisco on Greyhound, and we got him a ticket. And I said, that's all you need is a ticket. He's like, yeah, I have a family there. He calls me 2 days later. He was already there. He's like, thank you. He said, I believe in God now because you guys were my angels. He had a job and his family there. That's all he needed was just a bus fare back home. That was $60. But nobody would take the time to do it. And 3 weeks ago, I see a gentleman standing at Walmart. My husband went in the store and I'm in the car. And I'm looking at this young man and he has his phone and he's like, oh, hitting his phone and he's putting his phone down and he's sweating. He's underneath a little shade. And I look at him and close my eyes and I kind of prayed and I asked God to help him with his trials and tribulations he was going through. When I close my eyes, I see myself giving him a bus pass. And I give out bus passes to homeless. I have a whole bunch and I'm just giving them out because at least they can be cool in the bus, you know? So I see myself giving it to him, but he looks angry. And I'm like, oh, I'm not going to call him here. I close my eyes again and I see myself giving him a bus pass. So I finally call him. He comes to my window. He's like, yeah, what's up? I said, by any chance, do you need a bus pass? He goes, why are you offering me a bus pass? I said, I don't know. I was praying for you and I see myself giving you a bus pass. He's like, man, miss, I've been here for 3 hours. My car broke down. My brother's not picking up the phone. None of my homies are picking up. I've been asking for money. I tell them I'm going to pay them back and nobody wants to give me not even $1. He says, I need a bus pass. I live in Northtown. I got to go get my other keys so I can come back. That's all he needed. If I wouldn't have gone with my intuition, that young man would have been sitting there upset and wouldn't have had help. And things like that happen, and I don't think it's a coincidence, but when you pray to be out there and be used by God as an instrument, he's going to use you, so be careful what you pray for.
Yeah, and you have to not hold on to what you have because it's a flow. You have to let it go. It's called cash flow for a reason. Yep. But if your hands are closed, nothing can be given to you.
Can be given. We had another gentleman, an older gentleman, probably like in his 60s. When we fed, I would feed at this location, and he would always get his food, never say thank you, never speak. So I finally asked another homeless, what's that guy's name? He's like, he's been here for over 2 years. He doesn't talk to anybody. We've never heard him talk. Maybe he doesn't talk. So I go with him, and I sit down, and I tell him, are you enjoying your food? I said, do you have a story to tell? I heard that you're not talking here very much. There's nobody to talk to. And I said, okay, well, I'm here. I would love to know more about you. He tells me, honey, he says, I came here 5 years ago with my wife for our anniversary. She had a heart attack and died. I'd never wanted to go back to Texas. I had my home there. We don't have any kids. There's no reason for me to go back without her. That was why he was homeless. He had money in Texas, but there was nothing for him to go back to. So all I told him is keep her alive by talking about her. Don't leave yourself here because this isn't what she would want. He looked at me, he cried, and he said, I'm crying because I haven't heard my voice for so long. So sometimes you just have to approach a person and tell them, I want to know about you. What's your story? And the moment you do that, you don't even know you're healing them because this man had nobody to talk to. And I'm a hugger, so I had to hug him. I don't care if you're dirty, if you're homeless. I don't care because I know God's protected me and I know that that's what the soul needs. So when I hugged him, he broke down crying. And he says, I haven't had a hug in so long. So I make it a point to hug. And of course, I get home and I shower up and I know I'm going to be okay. But all these people need hugs. They need love. They need that agape love we preach. You know, you can't judge these people on the street. And I wish people would understand not all of them want to be there. I mean, don't get me wrong. I had my cousin that was homeless and all of our family tried to get him to live with us. And he was like, nope, I like being homeless. I don't got to do anything. If I'm hungry, people will give me food. I mean, there's people that want to stay there. But there's other people that their spirit's broken and they don't have anybody to tell them who they really are. And they really believe what this world has told them. And then they lose themselves. So what I try with Healing Hearts is to be the cheerleader for anybody and everybody and remind them who they really are.
Wow, that's amazing. You got me tearing up. You're not going to get me to cry on my own show now. Wow, that's really amazing. You see why I'm bringing on such amazing people? These stories need to be told, and people are not listening.
They're not. And I think that everybody's so caught up in their world that we forget about those that don't have it. And now let's talk about the youth. Let's talk about the youth that are homeless. There's such a huge amount of youth out there.
The youth that are homeless. Yeah, let's talk about that. I don't really know about homeless youth.
You have a lot of, with COVID, a lot of things happened here in Vegas that was really ugly. A lot of the community that I work with is a Hispanic community. Mm-hmm. And they were doing supposedly, when they stopped the cars to see if you were drinking, those checkpoints.
Right. Uh-huh.
Okay. They did a checkpoint in Northtown. And it wasn't a checkpoint for drinking. It was an immigration checkpoint. So,
really?
Yeah. If they didn't have their papers, they had the immigration truck right behind by the Kmart. So nobody knew what that happened. So a lot of my kids, I had a 14-year-old call me and say, my mom told me to call you when I ran out of food. I'm like, where's your mom? She got deported. I didn't know. She wouldn't tell me because I didn't want to go into CPS. And as a nonprofit, I'm mandated to say. But parents got deported. They were on their way grocery shopping. They both got deported. This little girl stayed. She was 14 years old, stayed taking care of an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 7-month-old baby. And didn't have anybody to talk to or to tell. So she was living there. Her parents left her enough money to pay the rent for 2 months and get food. But after that, what was going to happen? So wow. That happened a lot in Northtown. I had 7 different families of youth that I was trying to find places for to stay, because it was hard for me to call CPS, and that's a whole different story. But it's the homeless kids out there are living each and every day. It's more and more. And there's only like 2 shelters that will really help out. So what we try to do is encourage them and try to get them to work so they can find a steady job and be able to get a place.
Now, is that legal? Is that entrapment? What is that? To do a checkpoint?
It wasn't
for papers.
It wasn't legal, but they got away with it. And 7 of my kids' families, they were gone. So I had people in TJ with my grandmother living because they just dropped them off in TJ and they didn't have anywhere else to go.
Right. Now, I know what you mean when you say TJ. It's Tijuana for people who don't know.
Tijuana, Mexico, which is right the border of Mexico. So a lot of our youth, there's places like, for instance, if you go into Terribles, you're going to see a sign at Terribles that if anybody that's less than 18 years old, if they're stranded or don't have a place to live, you can call that number and then they'll pick them up and give them a place. But they're full. Everybody is full because there's so many runaways. There's so many homeless that don't feel the love, so they think they're going to feel the love in the streets.
And where do they go? I've heard you drive through on the north end of Las Vegas Boulevard or somewhere around there. You see it's the streets are full. Where are the youth going? I heard about the underground. I don't really know about it. I've heard different stories. It's like a whole world underground.
One day.
Have you been there?
Yeah. One day we should take the cameras there because you wouldn't believe the people that live on the underground.
In the tunnels.
Yeah. You have families. I'm not talking about mom and dad and a 5-year-old and I'm talking about month-old babies living out down there that you don't want to leave because you feel guilty sleeping in your bed. I had to deal with a lot when I went down there. I sent another group of people because it really took a toll on me to know that you're coming to a comfortable bed and you have these people laying there and you're talking to them and rats are going through their places, and sometimes the water, like when it rained, a lot of my homeless
the big
people,
floods you're talking about.
Yeah, they lose everything, and some of them lose their lives because people don't understand the danger, and all they need is courage. Somebody to encourage them.
What are these tunnels like? What are they? I can't even imagine. Are they little small tunnels where the water go through? Is it?
They're big.
A cave?
It's like a cave. And the deeper you go in, the smaller it's getting. And it's dark, just completely dark and wet and stinky and no light. The only light they have are the cameras or their phones But some of them have a whole bed in there. Some of them have so much pride in their little place that they have their curtains and their little design. They have pride in their little home. So all we can do is make sure that they have what they need. And some of them are complacent. I have a young lady, I won't mention names, but she has a mom. She has a dad. She won't go back because she said that they asked too much of her, and she has mental issues. So she felt her family was embarrassed of her, and she felt that was the only place that she was accepted. So I think that these programs are so important because people don't really know the reality of where they're living, because everybody's so cooped up in their little home and in their little family that we think, okay, this is my priority. Not true. We're all connected. So even though you're not seeing it, but if you have children, your kids are hearing about it. Your kids are knowing what's going on. Even if you walk out in the street, you can see it. You can try to be blind to it, but you're always going to find somebody that's going to be asking for money, or you're always going to see somebody that's sad and is going to need to be uplifted with a smile or a prayer.
Now, where are these tunnels? I've never seen Northtown.
Yeah, Northtown. So you have them in Northtown by Lake Mead. We usually go there to do the feedings, or by the freeways. You really don't see them. You have to go behind by where the freeway's at and to get in. And you need to know somebody, because they're very protective of their location. Like if you just decide to go in there and say, hey, I'm going to come feed you, they don't know who you are. So they're scared, and they won't let you come in. So I've been doing this for some years already. So we're able to, they know who we are. We come in and I'm very careful of who I take, because sometimes I'll take people, and I don't think they do it on purpose, but they'll be like, we can't have that. This is their home. We respect their home. And even though it smells how it smells, you smile there and you know that this is their place, that they have to sleep here and live here. So I try to make it as comfortable as possible by giving them sleeping bags. Last year we bought over 180 sleeping bags and gave them out. We were trying to buy tents. All of my homeless women said, don't get us tents. I was so confused. I'm like, why wouldn't you want a tent to sleep in? Until I saw one of my lady, Angela, she had a black eye. They were trying to rape her inside the tent. So 86 years old. This is an older woman that lives at the park. And she said, Yoli, I don't want the tent anymore. She says, because they find it that nobody's going to see you, so they can do what they want to do. Things we don't understand and nobody knows about. So I think every time that I come onto a podcast, I always like talking about it, because it's so important to me that people understand your word or your smile can do such a difference. I had a young lady that was at a freeway, and her sign said, if you smile at me, I won't kill myself. And cars were passing her, and I had a red light, and I'm looking at this young lady, and she's looking down, and her sign is up here covering her face and says, if you smile at me, I won't kill myself. She's covering her face so she can't see you smile at her. So I had my husband park the car. I went in, I gave her a hug. I said, I'm going to smile at you a lot so you don't want to kill yourself. And I started being goofy and smiling at her, and I said, now I want you to smile. And she said, there's nothing to smile about. I said, of course there is. I started talking to her. So I'm here at the side of the freeway talking to this young lady. And I gave her some bus passes, and I gave her some money. And I said, now what you're going to do is you're going to get on the bus. You're going to go find yourself a place to stay, get some food. And she looked at me. And I'll never forget this young lady, because she looked at me and she said, you saved my life because you showed me kindness. She said, nobody shows me kindness anymore because I'm in the streets. Now, that did something to me, because when she said, you showed me kindness, I'm thinking, that's all this girl wanted. And I still talk to her. Now she's in Texas. We were able to send her to her mother. She's in Texas now. But it's like, we would have never been able to help her get there. We wouldn't have known what her issue was, because she gave up. They give up.
And most people, when you're on the freeway and driving, you are driving to some place. It's not like I'm just taking the drive, or I have nothing to do. And so people have signs all the time. You don't know if somebody is, well, you can't even say, I don't even know if that's the case now. People's panhandling to try to get money, and they have a regular place. Yeah. That's really,
you know what I tell people when they tell me that? Our job is to love them. If they're doing ugly, God don't like ugly, that's on them. Right. We got to do the right thing. And sometimes we don't have money to give. Right. But you have a mouth to smile. Or you can say, God bless you.
When I see people, it affects me, and they're on the street. Sometimes I'm like, man, your back is better than mine. You're able to walk up and down, and you should be out there doing something. And then sometimes it just hits you. And if I have money, a lot of times I don't carry cash, but I'll give them money. I saw a lady today with a sign, and I was on the phone. I was on a important call. And she was just walking by, and I didn't have cash on me. She had a sign. It was like something about, I think her daughter died or something. And I was just like, and she was looking for money. I just felt bad. She was walking past my window, and then if somebody sees you, that's your opportunity to kind of be a blessing, because this is your moment. Yep.
And every day we have those moments. I'm glad you said it that way, because it is a blessing. When we can bless somebody, even a smile, or sometimes what my daughters do is they carry little pieces of papers and index cards that have scriptures or say nice things, and then they pass them out to people. And even something like that, it changes their mood. Sometimes we'll look back and we'll see that they're smiling because of what they got.
See, yeah.
And something as simple as that. So we do affirmation stones. I get my youth, my homeless youth, or anybody that's wanting to do, that's in a bad place, and we paint stones, and I tell them, put the words that you would have wanted to hear. And they usually feel better. And then we put them out in different places in the mountains or down the strip with a little piece of paper that says, this inspirational stone was made for you. How did it make you feel? They go on Facebook and they write how it made them feel. And my kids that did it will see it, and then they feel good because somebody found it.
And somebody actually took the time to, that's amazing. I just have to get past, I love giving.
I know.
I'm a
I know
giver.
your heart.
I blessed. There's just so many different things. I'm not trying to toot my own horn or whatever, but I feel bad when I can't. I remember it was about, I was waiting for my wife to pick her up. It was about 3:30 in the morning, and I was at a gas station, and she looked homeless, young girl or a woman who was petite, walked past me, and she was like, "Do you have $1?" And I had 5. So I gave her 5, and she just snatched it and just started walking away. And I was like, "You're welcome." I was like, I shouldn't have gave you nothing. But then I was just like, "No, forgive me," But I was just like, "Oh well," it was only $5, so hopefully you get what you need. But
I'm not saying they're all good, because there's some out there that want it for the wrong reasons.
Right.
But that's on them. But I just don't.
You still be the blessing. Try to help.
I had a gentleman that we were passing out burritos, and this gentleman says, "Can I take another one for my son?" We said, "Sure, take it." We're leaving, my husband and I, and we see him walking, and my husband says, "You know what? Let's give him a ride. Let's see if he really has a son." So we gave him a ride. He was staying at the Seagull Suites, and a little 6-year-old boy, he sees his dad, and he starts running to his dad, and the dad gives him the burrito, and he says, "Dad, can I eat it all, or do I have to save half?" And my husband says, "You can eat it all. From now on, you're not going to be hungry anymore." And we asked the gentleman, "What happened to you? Why are you out here?" He says, "I have 11 kids." He says, "I'm a construction worker. I can build you a house from the foundation up." He said, "But my boss lost his business. I had to send my kids with different family members. I only stayed with my wife and my son. They stay in shelters, and I go and pick up cans. So in the morning, I can at least get them a soup or something." Like, okay. I said, "What do you need?" He says, "I need a phone. If I had a phone, I can have jobs. I'll be able to answer my phone and get jobs from different places." My husband and I went to go get him one of those phones at Walmart, gave him the phone. He calls us 2 months later. 2 months, okay? This is a man that had nothing. 2 months later. "Miss Yolanda, can you come over? We want to invite you and your family to dinner." Like, "You want to invite us to dinner?" "Yes, we have an apartment." Okay. So we go to Northtown, and it's a little room, had no furniture, but I'll never forget, he had a lei that he had found, and that was a decoration. The little boy comes out with Oreos. He puts 3 in his pocket and then offers us some. They were feeding the whole, it was like a little community, just, it was like a shelter, but it was for low income. They had made beans, rice, and chicken, and everybody that was living in there were there eating with us. And he said, "All I needed was a phone." He says, "I'm working already. I got a job, and I'm doing little houses here and there, and I'm bringing all my kids back." That was the first time that I finally said, okay, we need to be able to be there for people, because all he needed was a phone, and he was able to put his life back together. Something so simple.
Be the blessing. You never know who you're meeting and how you can change, and nothing just happens.
That's it.
But you have to be present and aware to understand the magnanimity of the situation. What can I, and people say, "Oh, I can't do anything. What can I do?"
Yep.
You can do a lot, but if we listen and pay attention. I had a young lady that I met, and she was only 20 years old, reminded me of my daughter. Beautiful young lady, and she has a little boy. I think he was maybe 4 years old, and she's already 20 on her own. And the boy is not even living with her. He's living with the grandparents. She's trying. She's so far away from work, and so I gave her my number to help, and she would call me and ask me for rides. And then I gave her a ride, and she was renting a room out of this one place. It's a nice little place. I was like, "Oh, wow, now." And she was just like, I was just like, "If you need something, I'll try to be a blessing." She was like, "I need a bed." I said, "What? You don't have a bed?" She's like, "I don't have anything. I lost everything. I don't have anything." So I just just want to be a blessing. So I went out to Walmart and bought a double air mattress and bought her a TV and called her up and said, hey, I want to be the blessing. You know, some people just need a hand, you know. Most people or most guys would probably want to try to do something.
Yep.
She don't need a penis. She need a hand.
Exactly.
And just being the blessing. She's like, oh, thank you so much. I was like, I just want you to do one thing with the TV. Download the Tides Network on the TV. I need to download now and watch you got free TV. Watch it. But just a blessing, and you know, just to know that you can help. And it wasn't overpriced or expensive. It was like $400, but little things
knowing that you're
can help.
doing it. Yeah, because people don't understand that when we heal somebody's heart, it heals our own. You really feel good when you help somebody. I mean, think about it. The last time you gave somebody, or when you helped this young lady, it did something to your soul, right? You're like, it's like a thank you, Father, for letting me do that. But I feel that's how we should always feel.
Right. I'm just like, thank you for having me be in the position to be a blessing. I want to be the giver and not the receiver.
Yep.
You know, so it's hard for me to even ask, even like trying to get sponsors and stuff like that, because I know it's business.
Because
and all
we're
that.
Givers, so it's hard to ask for things. I get
And I've been in a position where outside of, you know, my mother and father helping and my brother, ain't nobody looking to help me, you know. It's never been that way. So I had to do everything on my own. And so I don't really ask nobody for anything. I just try to figure it out and do it. So, but I love being a blessing. I've bought people cars. I've done a lot.
But that's why God has blessed you too, because of that heart that you have, you know. And sometimes I think that your story is very impactful with a lot of people as well, because like you said, some people are out there and they have a messed up foot and they think it's the end of the world. But look at you. You have all kinds of screws all in the back. I mean, you have all the screws here, but your back's a little messed up there.
Nobody knows my real story. And I don't share it. I don't want to put that out. You know, it's a lot. It's
but
depressing
I think it's inspiring.
When you think.
No, I think it's inspiring. I think you went through a lot because of everything that you've gone through and the pain and everything but I think it shows who you are. It gave you character, and it shows that you didn't give up.
Yeah. My wife looks at me all the time. She's like, you're my hero. She was just like,
He's told me that.
I don't understand how you were able to continue to go and move forward with everything that you have in there. And when people look at me, they don't don't see the brokenness. They don't. And I try, you know, sometimes it hurts, but I just that pride inside. I'm trying to, you know, I don't want to look that way. I've seen, you know, through my family, there's been, you know, my grandmother was born with polio. A cousin was born with open spine and paralyzed, and another cousin was handicapped. I've seen an uncle who was an alcoholic. I've seen so many different things, abuse. But I come from a great family, but I've seen a lot, and I didn't never want to be that. I never want to be looked at as handicapped or crippled.
I hear you.
And, you know, 80% of my spine is fused, you know, and 8 surgeries, you know, 7 spinal surgeries, both hands carpal tunnel. My hands used to cramp up.
But it's your gratitude, your personality, and the way that you carry yourself. You're not a victim. You don't carry yourself like a victim, even though you have so much that happened. And that's what makes you strong. And
every day I just have to keep feeding positivity to myself, because I can always fall deep and woe is me and why me, God, and that's not rain. What are you doing, Lord? You know.
I hear you.
And just being bitter and angry. The main thing is trying to work past the bitterness and the anger of even being, how do I put this? I've always been overlooked, the underdog, but even through hiring an attorney to represent me in my case, in this last one, accident, $1 million case, injured, spinal stimulator installed, all these spinal surgeries, and he ends up settling and didn't want to go. And the way that they did this, and the crazy thing is, when you go into mediations, the attorney was lying so much. I mean, so much stuff didn't even make sense. That was not factual. I wanted to have my day in court. And when you have a mediation, you have a judge that kind of listened to it, their attorneys, my attorneys. And when we left to go for a break, I think they were all on the take, like getting paid to, sometimes I assume, I just have to say it, allegedly, take deals. Oh, let's not do this one and I'll fix you on the next one or something. I'm assuming these things happen, or because of you have too much pigment in your skin, we don't want to give that person this type of money. But even the way that my representatives, no, you need to just settle. I was like, what? What are you talking about? And they're like, oh, it was going so fast. Now, even I have a phone somewhere. I record everything when I have conversations because I want to make sure I have the ability to understand. So I go back and listen. And I was just like, this is crazy. And so
Did
now.
you settle?
They settled for pennies. Literally. So I want to think about reopening it. I don't know if it's almost the time is gone or whatever, but find a better attorney. And I've never been more disappointed.
I'll get on that right away.
To see that treatment. Part of me wants to just let it go. I feel like the spirit has been saying, wake up. The time is about to, you need to go and now try to find. And then another part of me is just like, this is what it is. Leave it alone. God has more for you. Focus on that. So I'm trying to do that. But they really did me wrong and lied. And he was like, oh, we're not even going to take a fee if you just go ahead and settle. And then when they sent the money, they took the fee anyway. And so I got pennies for life-altering, life-changing situations that was somebody else's fault. All I was doing was just sitting at a red light. And so I'm like,
that can be kind of frustrating sometimes. So
just trying to figure it out. But anyway, we're off. This is about you. This is not about me.
But you know what? I want to remind you something. And I think about you when I watched this show called The Chosen. I don't know if you've ever watched it, but it's
it sounds familiar.
It's just like Jesus and his disciples. But I'm getting to a point with this. Little James had a disability. He was crippled. So he's talking to Jesus, and Jesus saying, okay, you guys, it's time for you guys to go out and create miracles, heal people, get them better, make sure that you can do all the miracles you can. And little James looks at Jesus like, why are you telling me this? So he goes outside and he tells Jesus, wait, you're sending me, crippled me, to go out and heal people when I can go out and do that, but why can't you heal me? And John, when I saw that, I started crying because my seizure disorders. And sometimes my seizures get in the way of a lot of the things I want to do. And when I heard that, I was like, that's how I feel. Here you go having me helping people. And yet I'm over here flopping like a fish in different places. Like, what's going on with that? And the answer, and I'm saying this to you as well, because you go through the same thing. He told little James, like, oh, little James, I could heal you. But you bring more out and you show the people more faith than anybody else that's healed. Because you being ill, you, John, being ill, seeing everything that you do and everything that you're doing for your community and everything that you already do, you're doing it out of faith because you're not in good, your health isn't good. My health isn't good. But we haven't let that stop us. And our faith is what moves us. And as long as we have that, people are looking at us. And people that are feeling that they don't have a way out, they're looking at us. They're looking at you, they're looking at me. And all we're doing is bringing faith back. Just by our walk, and we literally are walking by faith.
Yeah, literally. Actually, it's faith every day. I was talking to some surgeons the other day. They want to go back in and try to fix it. I was like, man, I'm tired, and I had to catch myself because I was like, it's interesting. Because I was just like, I'm tired of this. If you understand what I'm saying, you picking up what I'm putting down. I said this to the doctor. I said, I need you to fix this or fix it. And I had to catch myself. And afterwards, I was like, Lord, forgive me, because I'm grateful, even though I don't want to be broken, but in the crushing and everything that has happened, it has transformed me into what you see now.
What does a diamond need? How does a diamond become a diamond?
It needs that crushing, that
Exactly.
pressure. And that's when the beauty comes, is that collateral beauty that out of this, just the ugliness and life, still I say, I thirst.
And it's hard. I mean, I get you. Sometimes I was very suicidal when I started with my seizures because I was modeling and it just stopped my career completely. Here I am walking down a runway and bam, just fall everywhere. And there was a time that I was trying to take my own life because I was done with it. And the way I look at it now, John, and I want you to look at it the same way, is that we're special because not everybody has the courage to get up the way we've gotten up. And we're special because God has a special purpose for us. Because not everybody can say, I have a show and I'm going out helping people and my back is messed up with all kinds of screws in it. But you would never know that because I'm always smiling. That's you. So that inspires. I mean, that I'm talking because it inspires me. I think of you when I get sick. I think of you. And I don't know, I've never told you this, but I think when I've fallen and I feel hurt and I feel like, I don't want to do anything anymore, I think of you because the day that you went to talk to my youth, I know you were in pain. I know you were in pain because I could feel your energy. I knew you were in pain. You kind of moved yourself a little bit and got up there and started talking to these kids.
But when I do that, a lot of times I'm feeling pain and you go through your own mental, but then you get yourself up. But it's that anointing.
Yep.
It's that energy that comes in that gives you the strength and the belief that passes all understanding, that gives you that energy to go. And I get excited and I love it.
Because you inspire. That's who you are. You inspire everybody just by speaking to them. When you were sitting there, I was looking at everybody's face and everybody was really in tune, listening to what you had to say. And at that moment, when you were walking around the room, is the only moment that I saw you were walking right. And you're right, because Spirit's helping you there, because you were walking A-okay, even though if you were in pain, you weren't showing it at all. Right. So sometimes
that's why I sat back, start with the stool or sit on the table, because I'm like, I don't want to look crazy, even everything. I'm always like, how do I look?
But you know what?
With Andrea, I back up. You see people walking, and I'm like, I don't look like that, do I? I'm always trying to
I know what you mean.
Have that image to show that Christ is in me, and I have strength, and He gives me that. But
even
when I'm
you
home,
don't,
I'm like, oh,
I know, I know.
I'm on ice. Oh Lord, but
it's okay if you have to show that. Sometimes I've learned, and before I would have my seizures and I would hide. And there was a time that I had a conference. It was 160 people there and I had a seizure and I hid for about 4 months. I didn't want people to see me. I was so embarrassed because I hate people feeling sorry for me. And everybody's like, oh, poor you. And that's the worst thing you can tell me. That's like cussing me out when you're like, oh, poor you. Oh, poor pobrecita. I don't like that. But now I've learned to accept it. Now it's like when I fall or I have a seizure in front of people, I let them know I'm going to have a seizure. It's okay. This is what happens to me. I'm going to get back up. Remind me what we were talking about. And now I let it happen. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I've noticed that sometimes when I've gotten sick in front of certain people that I would have never thought in a million years would have empathy, show their empathy. I had I was interviewing this guy that just got out of prison, did 15 years in prison. Hardcore dude. I was scared just interviewing him. And I think because I was so scared and so nervous, I had my seizure. I woke up and this boy was crying like a baby. I'm sorry if I did this to you. I'm sorry. Did I get you nervous? Completely changed. So sometimes I think maybe God gives us these things to show people, to have empathy and to show people how lucky they really are and not to be complaining about the little things, because here we are going through what we go through and we're still going to get up every morning and still praise and still have our pain and deal with it at night.
Right. And it's okay.
It's okay.
To be frustrated, to ask God why and all of this.
It's okay.
We understand now that it's everything that we're going through, we're learning in the journey. It's not the thing. So I was like, I just want to help people, bless people. Even with the Tide Network, it's not a shrine to myself. I want to help shine a light on other people. Yep. But the hardest thing is to help people help themselves. Do you want to do this? I was trying to give away free stuff. No, everybody think is value in paying top dollar for something. I have the same platform as Hulu, Amazon Prime, HBO. Netflix, but I'm unknown. But if we come together.
It's coming together now. You got to do it. We got to remember, sometimes we want things done and it's God's timing, not ours. And I think it's your timing now. God's going to put people together and you're going to get what you want because your heart.
Right. Well, I know that he's teaching me through this. And I did the first book. I didn't print it out yet. I'm still looking for publishers. It's if you change your mind, you can change your life. That was what that was, manifesting your dreams and figuring out how you really want your life to be and being intentional with it. But then through this process of going through all of these things and then having the big house, custom built house, and, married before and then losing all of that and then starting over again. A lot of things that was even prophesied over me or visions that I've had when I was younger, I now see it come full circle. The bishop that was, who married me the first time told me, that's not your wife. And he was like, he didn't marry us. And then we waited a whole year. I was serving him and traveled the world with him. And then the year went by and he was like, you still living and shacking up and doing all this stuff? You want to marry? This is what you want? Okay. But he had told me, he said, it's not your wife. I see your wife and it's not her. But I was like, I love her, I'm going to prove you wrong, Mm-hmm. And come to find out, he was right.
I didn't prove you wrong. You proved me right.
Right. But through that, so many different things. Like, you're going to have properties in many different countries and you're going to help people. I was like, how am I going to do that? And all these other countries now I see coming together. I'm looking at properties in Colombia because of Andrea. I'm like, wow. So I learned through this process that delay does not mean denial.
Ooh, say it again.
And so that's the next book. Delay is not denial, but you have to understand that a blessing too soon is a curse.
Yeah, when you're not ready for it.
When you're not ready for it. T.D. Jakes always says, you could have a beautiful Mercedes and his son may want the car. His son is grown, as a grown man, and can handle that blessing now. But giving him that same car to the same son, the same person, when he was 7,
it would have been a good idea.
Would be a curse. Mm-hmm. He can't handle it.
Yep.
And even with Tyson, before I was like, I want to do this. I want to get it. I want to be Netflix and all this other stuff. Netflix didn't start out as Netflix. Netflix started out as like Blockbusters, sending DVDs to your home. You had to send it back and then you get more. It wasn't what it is now.
Nope.
So despise not small beginnings and understand the process. You don't know what you don't know. So until you know what you know, just keep learning.
Keep going.
And it's not the wins and the successes that teaches us, it's the failings. So throughout this journey, I'm just trying to learn everything. I'm trying not to fail. I'm not saying, come on, failure. I want to fail.
Let me fail and see what it feels like.
Yeah, I don't want to fail. But there are things that I'm learning along the way. And I'm realizing that, what, the end goal is not necessarily having Tyson being as big as Hulu and Netflix. I would love that to happen. But in the meanwhile, be the best I can be on this level. Because if 1 million, 2 million people were to flood the Tyson network right now and come, the foundation I'm building, but it's me and Andrea against the world. So do you have the infrastructure? Do you have everything set for all of those people coming in? Are you ready? So we're getting ready and we want that. But you know what? Just enjoy the journey, because when we get to that level, we're not going to stay there.
Exactly.
You're going to sit there and you're going to be like, okay, what's next? Because we're human.
Yep.
So I've stopped focusing on I want that, and just learn the process. And now we're in over 500 countries. We're on all platforms. Now we have advertisements being inserted into the Taija network. So that's revenue coming in. I'm waiting now for subscription based so I can get more people on before doing that. And I've been wrestling with that because I've been hearing we possibly could be going into a recession. Mm-hmm. And so if we go into a recession and then I start doing subscription based, what's the first thing that people cut? Subscriptions, Yeah, I need food, or do I need Netflix and Hulu?
Yeah.
And everybody has all of these channels, and you got $15 for this one and $4.99 for Peacock and all this. I would just only do $3, $2.99. That's the Trinity. So I'm not trying to, take all this money, but what I want to do is it's live TV streaming 24 hours, and then you have your on-demand stuff. So I want to be the lighthouse that when hard times come, or even when good times are here,
you'll be able to
people can go and do that. And so that's why I'm inserting to try to start making that. But I just want to partner with people and have people come on. I'm not trying to have a platform to just make money. It's called the Taija Network, tying all the generations together for the purpose of entertainment. So if you win, when you win, we win, because we're shining a light on you. People seeing your stuff, but they're coming onto the network. After they see your stuff, maybe they can find something else, or just be a part. So I'm trying to build something generational, be a home for the independent, and just be a vehicle for if Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime not knocking on your door, come to us. We can get away from.
But now you have something else. When you put purpose before business is going to come. And you're putting purpose. You're saying what you want this for. It's not, of course, monetary is always important, but when you start bringing people together, I wanted to be able to get the nonprofits to be part of your network, because if we can get a channel for each nonprofit, now the world knows what your nonprofit is doing. Mm-hmm. And now you're able to see if you can get sponsorships coming in.
You have a vehicle. Whenever you're ready, we're able to do it. Now I'm learning so much. Okay, when you have somebody come on, or you upload stuff. Before I was like, just give me your stuff. We can upload it for free and all that. You can't really do that because you have transcoding. For everything that you upload, it goes through the process, and then it has to be transcoded so that it doesn't mess up, and then it goes on all platforms. It has to be coded for iOS and Apple and Hulu and or the Google Play Store and all these different things. I'm going to send you
the letter that I got from Benj when I started with them. Maybe you can kind of get some information of that and start sending it out to people, because they were charging us $200 a month. Up to $10,000 is what we paid for it.
Okay.
For a year of being there. And I didn't do nothing with it. Absolutely nothing with it, because I was trying to do what you're doing. I had a network, so I was trying to get people to come and get channels on my network. But people don't understand the concept of it.
Right. I'm just like...
But it'll come. It'll come.
And the bad part about it is I'm paying the bill. Every month, this is what I'm doing and trying to help you. So I do shows like this and want to upload stuff. And then we have over 1,000 titles. But once you upload 500, and you realize that there's nickel and diming for everything. So your transcoding is out. So now you got to pay more transcoding to upload. And it's just like, okay.
I'm stressed just hearing you.
Is a lot of the business, so I need people, and I want to do a film festival.
To a team that I just started working with. It's college kids, but I really think that you can use them, because these kids have some ideas, and maybe
I'm willing
even
to
go
work.
to schools and see if you can get donations of sponsorships, or get grants.
See, I would love to have people who know that stuff and get in, but that's another part. I don't know if it's pride or if what do you call that? The complex, not inferior complex, but when you don't think that you can, or what? I don't know. I can talk business all day. I can be the face person and all of that stuff. But when it comes to asking for money, it's just, I'm like, I don't want to do that. It's just like, if you want to handle business, this is what it is, but you can't necessarily do that. So I'm trying to figure out.
I'm good at that, because I was a closer for timeshare lots of times, so I don't mind asking you for money. I'll build it up for you, and then you just assume the sale. because this is something everybody needs.
Yeah.
We need to start putting you in front of network events. And then you just, when it's your time to speak at the network, you tell them, hey, I'm here to try to get you guys to put your businesses on my network.
I'd love to do that.
Okay.
I can do that. This is what I do.
Okay.
But then asking for the money, it's just like, I don't want to do that, But this is what you need. I was talking to Matt. We talk about this often. He just, before the show, he was just like, I used to be that way, but now I'm like, it's going to be this amount of money.
Yep. Because, and I'm the same way when it comes to the work I do and energy. I work off base donations.
Let's talk about that. The energy work, amazing. And you saw that there was some things with me earlier and you started doing energy. First of all, how did you get into the energy and what is that about? There's so many things. We're talking about cannabis, healing energies, all of that. Yeah. Let's talk about the energy.
Okay. I'm trying, my goal is to take the mysticism out of healing work.
You said mysticism. Mysticisms. And let's explain that for people who may not understand that. That's a big word.
Mysticism is for the people that want to say that this is healing is like a magic, or they have a special gift, or they're special because they can help people out. And nobody's special. We all have gifts. We just choose to use them or not. In the Bible, the book of 2 Corinthians talks about the gifts of the Spirit, and healing is one of them. Mm-hmm. So basically what I do is every day I pray and meditate for God to use me as a conduit, as an instrument to be able to help and uplift other people. We're energy. That's why when you're walking down the street or in carpets and you touch somebody, you get shocked. Mm-hmm. So our hands are energy. So when we drink a lot of water, we're able to energize our hands. And you know how the power of prayer, when you pray for somebody, it really works. What we do is the power of touch and prayer, combining both of them. And you do some stuff. I had no idea about this gift that I had. When I was little, I would see television, and in my head, I would see certain people coming to visit. And I'd tell my mom, my uncle's coming, and she'd get up, and she's like, okay, what time did he say he would be here? I'm like, I don't know. I just saw him in my head. And then I'd get in trouble, but he would show up. And I'd tell my mom, he's going to have this on, and he would have it. But being raised from a religious background, to them, it wasn't of God, what I was doing. And they were telling me, that's not of God. You're knowing these things and it's not okay for you to know them. So little, I just kind of let it go. But about 10 years ago, I had my cousin come over from California, never visited me before, but decided to come and visit me. And he was eating his food and spitting it out. And I didn't understand why. But I had this urge to touch his neck. And he's Pentecostal, so he's into that. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't do it because I wasn't raised to think that. So he stays with me Friday, Saturday. I finally ask him, why are you spitting the food out? He says, I can't swallow, cousin. He said, it's been over a year and I just can't swallow anything. So what I ended up doing is he was leaving and I heard touch his neck. So I did. John, I know this is going to sound crazy, but the following day, I go open up a bank account. I cough. Something comes out my mouth. Smells horrible. I take it to the doctor. He says, oh, you have severe tonsillitis. My tonsils were taken out when I was 8. There's no way I have tonsillitis. He looks at me and he's like, are you sure this came out of you? I immediately thought of my cousin, called him up, and he's like, cousin, praise God, I was able to swallow my chicken today. I told him, you need to go to the hospital. Something's going on with your tonsils. He went in and he got them removed immediately. That's when I knew, okay, this is weird. And from then on, I started just reading my Bible and just really thinking, how is it that we're able to do this? But think about it. As mothers, when you were young and you would fall, the first thing your mom would do is say, ooh, if you bumped your head, okay, you're going to be okay. Little do you know that you were okay because of the touch of love. And sometimes you feel better. When you hurt yourself or somebody pats you on the back and you're having a hard day, it's a touch of love. So when we do things out of love, people heal.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. It's crazy because I was told that I had the gift of healing. And it worked for a while, and I was, I used to feel tingles in my hand, but then after all of this stuff happened, I didn't feel it anymore. And I was just like,
you still have it. I promise you still have it.
I was like, why can't I heal myself? Just like you said, in the story.
Sometimes we can't. I want you to know that what you're going through and what I'm going through has a purpose. And we don't understand it right now, but me seeing you speak to the youth, I understand your purpose. And I understand that sometimes, in my case, if I wouldn't have the seizures, I don't think I'd be doing what I'm doing now, because exactly. I was into modeling and I wanted the world. I wanted to be a cover girl model, and that was my mission, is me, 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 me.
Right.
Once I had my seizures, I couldn't do that anymore.
Exactly.
And now I started thinking of others, and same thing with you.
Exactly. I wanted to be the next cross between Michael Jackson and Prince, you know? And I remember serving the bishop, and like I said, I traveled the world, and I would not commit to it. They wanted me to sing and lead worship and all that stuff. And I was just like, nah, I can't do that. Because you don't want to, serve two masters. Yep. You do this, and then, my mother used to say, you can't sing gospel and then do the boogie woogie on Monday. I was like, well, first of all, I'm not doing the boogie woogie, mother. It says R&B, but yeah, I was so focused on, acting. I wanted to be the next, Denzel, Prince, yep. Michael, and everybody else in between.
But that's not his calling for you.
Right. And you have to understand, stop trying to be a bad carbon copy of someone else.
There you go.
Most people don't even know what carbon copies are because we don't use those credit cards anymore. It's like, what? Google it.
Google it. Kids.
But yeah, I am in the process. All of this stuff happened to me, and it has formed and shifted and changed, and I am still me. And sometimes you still have those same thoughts, but my thoughts are so different. I approach things so different. I am a different man than the person that I was 10 years ago.
Yep. Everything
is completely changed. And now I never thought I'd be doing a podcast.
Check you out.
And when people was doing podcasts, I was like, I don't want to do no podcasts. And I actually met my right hand right here. He told me to do a podcast years ago, but I was still in the old,
the ego shit.
Yeah, I wanted to be Arsenio Hall, so I did the Beyond the Lights, the TV show, and that was still good. But that's why I did that instead of the podcast. But then it come full circle. Now I'm doing the podcast, but I realized that my gift wasn't. I have the gift of singing and performing, but I'm not going to be out there jumping and doing splits like Prince and everybody else. My gift is talking and connecting with people, just in the purest way.
Yep.
It's just about love and just having the conversation. So every time I'm talking to people are like, I don't know why I feel so comfortable with you. It's just so easy.
Yeah. So you let people open up. You become that platform for them to open up and let out what hurts them.
Right. And we just want to talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. We're going to have the conversation. It's not an interview. Yeah, Yolanda. So this, just have the conversation and let it flow. And then whatever happens from it, that's the gift.
There you go.
And I just hope that people like it, will watch it, and go on and to use this as a learning tool, and or to figure out your healing or your journey or your purpose. So many people die. There's a quote that say, the place with the most regret is the cemetery. Because most people don't go after their dreams and die unfulfilled, not knowing what their purpose is.
That's true.
And that's the worst thing in the world, to be on your deathbed and say, man, I wish. And we have to understand that this life is so quick. Most people think, it lasts forever, especially when you're young. The day is so long, and they look at you, you're old. You're how old? It goes so quick. And if you don't understand why you're here for a purpose. You think from the moment of conception, I don't want to get gross or anything, but when the sperm is released from the male, and it is all of these millions of cells are fighting for the opportunity and the chance to penetrate the egg, to be born, to come here, and to live a purpose. So it's a race.
Yep.
And so
Since the beginning, you're right.
Each of us are here. We came here, we're a winner. I made it. You got to the egg first, and you went to term, and you come here and you don't fulfill your purpose. So I'm thinking wherever we were in energy, in heaven or wherever, everybody's like, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a philanthropist. What's that?
Philanthropist.
Philanthropist, or whatever. I want to change. I want to be the next Mandela or whoever, your purpose. And nobody is focused on that anymore. Nope. It's a gift to have life, the gift of life. I understand it now differently when I was a kid. The gift of life, it's just a day, you know, but you have to be present in it. And you say the present because it is a gift, because it's so quick. If you miss it, it's you know, I forget who said it. It was a saying. It was, all we have in this life is one tiny little minute. 60 seconds is in it. Thrust upon us, can't refuse it, but we have to give an account if we abuse it. All we have in this life is one tiny little minute, 60 seconds in it, but eternity is in it. Wow. And so if you understand the magnanimity of the weight, what are you doing? You're just on Instagram or TikTok and doing these pictures and all this stuff. That's not your purpose.
Nope. It's creating memories with your loved ones and really knowing what you're here for. And it's basically to serve, right? Because everybody, that's when you're the happiest. When you help somebody out, you're the happiest.
Right. And it could be just a conversation. I now look at things. Before it was about me and I wanted to be a model and I had the Superman S curl when I was young.
You did not have that
I did. I did. I had a little bit of good hair, but I used to wear my hat backwards. I now
with the little curl coming out.
Yeah. Now I wear fitted hats, but before it was a snapback because I needed you to see my curl, you know.
The little S curl.
Yeah, and I used to curl it. It was a Superman curl. I used to always try to look like the eyebrows. Now I'm regretting
Eyebrow coming up.
Yeah, okay. Now I regret it because I'm getting that crease in my head, you know. But yeah, I used to snapbacks with the curl. And I was like, I'm a model.
I need to see pictures. I can't just imagine that little S curl coming out.
I have pictures somewhere. I don't know if I want to show it. My mama will send it, you know. But yeah, and now I'm just like, you know, it's funny when you get old, you realize that these things don't matter.
Nope.
Things don't matter. It is about fulfilling your purpose and just being the light you want to see.
Because it doesn't always bring... I was never rich, but doing timeshare, I was making good money. I was doing good. I had my toys, my homes. I came to Vegas with $400 to my name. I had a stroke, so my face was sideways and feeling like I'm just not going to make it. But I'll tell you what, I've never been happier. Not having anything because I'm able to really live my purpose now. And I'm not worried about who wants to be with me because I have this or what do you want because you're hanging around. It's like, I don't have anything. All I can give you is my time and my love. And I got so many more people that way and buying them.
Because most people, when you are doing things, they don't look at you as a person, but an opportunity.
Exactly.
And it's like...
Exactly.
You have to try to decipher what's what and who's who. And you know, I don't have many friends or many people. I don't have anybody to just go and have a drink with. You know, it's me and Andrea. That's it. I got Matt here, you know.
Now and you got me and my hubby.
Yeah, well, you come over and we talk and all that stuff and, you know, just work on healing. You know, you help me with different. We're talking about weed, ladies and gentlemen.
It's like it's gonna come out sooner.
Yeah, I was trying to just say we just hang out.
He's like, we talking about weed.
We talking about the cannabis, you know, because
the benefits of it.
It helps. Now, talking about the energy, because we talked about the energy. Now, the cannabis part of it. You were telling me that you work with dispensaries and stuff, and you do energy work with the cannabis.
Frequency the weed.
Frequency the weed. Yeah. Let's talk about that. That's a whole nother show we need to talk about.
We can frequency anything because everything has energy. Mm-hmm. Every single thing that you have around you. Plants have energy. Water has energy. Actually, we're drinking dead water if we don't energize it. Because have you ever noticed you can drink a whole bunch of water and you're going to the bathroom so much? Well, because when you energize water, it extends so it can get into the cell versus drinking just water like that. And you could energize it in the sun. I mean, when you go outside and you go to the sun, you get vitamin D and it helps us. What makes us think that the water isn't the same thing? Our body is over 80% water. So what we energize it. And when somebody says something nice to you, like you can be in a bad mood, but if somebody comes up to you and says, John, you look really nice today. You're like, Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it makes me happy because
me happy.
people don't say that to me.
See?
Nobody says, I always wanted to be, do I look good?
Okay, now we know Matt. Now we know we got to give him his props all the time we see him.
No. Yeah. But I do wish that, I wish a lot of times in your head, you're like, man, I wish I looked good. I wish I was taller. I wish it was this. And I always try to make sure that I look a certain way because you don't want to be, looking frumpy or.
And when you get a compliment, it just brings you up.
Yeah.
So with water, when you look at your water, and I learned this from a monk. One time I was drinking water and just downing my water and he slaps it from my face. And I was so mad. I'm like, what are you doing? And he tells somebody in his language to tell me that I was disrespecting the water, that you don't drink water guzzling. You got to thank it because it's going to give you your health. And he's like, and you're just guzzling it. Don't guzzle your water. You thank your water. Every drink that you take, you thank it. And that's what I do now. But
you said something about freezing it was interesting earlier.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
If anybody ever wants to do something with their kids or just find out on your own, get 2 glasses of water or bottled waters, but it needs to be in glass because plastic is dead. So when you put it in a glass of water and go ahead and write ugly words and tape it on there and repeat it to that glass of water. Like, you're ugly, you're no good, I hate you. On one glass. On the other glass, put classical music and put words of I love you, you're enough, you're good, and put heavy metal music on the one that has all the hate words. Do it for 2 hours and then freeze both of them. When they come out, the one that you put all the hate words on is going to have streaks of line going up and down on the cup inside the ice. And the other one is going to be clear or it's going to have bubbles of air because words matter. Even the waters get structures. You can do that with water. You can do that with rice. Rice will be the same thing. You get three cups of rice. 1 cup of rice, say bad things to it. The other one, say nice things to it. And the other one, ignore it. The one that you were saying bad things to it starts getting green and moldy. The one that you were showing love to, no mold at all. The one you ignored, moldy and wet. It looks ugly.
And this is just dry.
Just dry. Just do it. Do it one day. Put 3 of them in a cup and do it.
How long is the process?
Do it. The one with the rice, do it at least 2 weeks so you can really see the difference. But just every day you see the rice, say you're ugly. You're ugly. Just to a specific one and to another one, say nice things to it. Because we do that to show how words affect us. So when we frequentize food or weed, you're just basically putting music. There's music. If you were to open up our body, our cells are singing. The liver has a frequency, the ovary has a frequency, the gallbladder has another frequency. So there's frequencies for each body part. Mm-hmm. So if a person is sad, the frequency that the whole body resonates with is 528 because that's the frequency of love. And there's times that I get kids that have been sex trafficked and I have to calm the body down. I put speakers on their body. And I play 528. And at first, they're like, uncomfortable. And then they'll close their eyes and tears will just start coming out. Because the body, I think of it in my mind. I think when I put the music on the people, I feel like the cells are in all different places. And then they start hearing it, so they start going back to where they have to go. And it's calming the body down.
Wow.
So
now, how did you learn that? Because that's interesting. And even with the cups, and we were saying that I wouldn't even want to, everything that I do now, I just give love and positive energy. So I am going to do that with everything. I love you and positive affirmations. I'm not going to do the I hate you. I'll believe you for that. But I just, I don't even want to
I do that with the youth
energy.
because sometimes they don't believe that. And it's so important that they see words really matter. And when we eat, that's why you pray over your food. Mm-hmm. Because people pray and they don't know the power of prayer. But when you're praying over your food, you're clearing your food. When I just add a magnet or I add frequencies, you're just superpowering it, is how I look at it. You're waking it back up because water is just in the plastic bottles for how long when you go pick them up from the store? You don't know how long it's there. So when you're drinking that water is not getting into the cells because it's like dead water. But when you put it out in the sun for an hour or you put frequencies on it, water bends and it gets thinner and it can get into the cell and you're not peeing as much.
Wow.
Yeah. So
do you obtain more water weight though?
No, because the water the water is going and it's feeding the cell now versus just drinking the water and getting a big tummy and going to pee and not getting any benefit from the water.
Well, we perish for lack of knowledge. And so I'm taking this and I do this with just everyone else. I need to do this to myself and all the things that I that I just intake and then have around me. 'Cause, I just want peace now. It's all about peace, positivity, and love. And the great thing is being married, we don't argue. I don't argue. When we first started, she was just like,
you have the best wife. I love Andrea. She loves you to death and respects you so much.
That's the greatest feeling, And just the touch and the love and the look, I'm just like, it's amazing now.
Yeah, she loves you so. She admires you, and I told her there's nothing better than knowing you have a husband that you love and admire, because you always have a good man.
The crazy thing that still boggles my mind, she tells me this all the time, and she still does this to this day. She said when she came here, we met. I met her. Maybe she was here 2 weeks in the country. When I met her, and she didn't really speak any English. She's fluent now, but it's just we're always working on it. And now I'm learning Spanish 5 days a week. I'm taking classes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're going to be able to speak Spanish in Colombia?
See, I'm learning. I'm learning. It's thick in here, so it's taking a little extra time.
Yeah.
I got to get the cobwebs out. Clean it up, get ready. But yeah, I'm 5 days a week. I'm learning for an hour. But she told me when she got here, you know how somebody always mimics someone to be like, and she told me, she said, I mimic you. I was like, what? And she was like, yeah. She said, I got here, I'm learning. She said, I mimic you, and still to this day. So I'm like, wow.
I didn't meet you the day I met with her, because I had met her, and I met up at your apartment where you guys lived. I met up inside, and she was telling me about you, and I was like, how do you even communicate? What do you mean he speaks English? And I'm like, how do you communicate? He's like, well, it's working. And I'm like, well, I hope and I was going to meet you that day, but I was in a hurry to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was so excited. She's like, yeah, I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn English, and I'm going to be okay. And
it was crazy because from day one, it was a little language barrier, but it just worked.
That's what she said.
It was like how I didn't have to go through the Google Translator, I didn't have to sound like Chris Tucker. I had to do America. You want to come to America? But it just.
And she's very smart. Your wife is super duper smart.
She is.
She's a determined woman. Whatever she wants, she's gonna get.
Oh yeah, I just let her just do what you do. She's smarter than I am. So in certain things, so I'm just like, whatever you want, let's go ahead and do it. Okay, you think, all right, that's cool. I trust her, So that's the great part. So it's just amazing. All right, now with the frequency, you said it was 528.
528 is the frequency of love.
528, and people can Google that or YouTube.
Yeah, they can Google on YouTube. They can see all the frequencies. Go into that. They can actually go to YouTube and find out how water affects the body and when we speak to it. There's a lot of information on that.
Okay,
and it's something we all need because we're eating dead food right now.
Yeah, I couldn't. There was a season where I couldn't eat meat, and still to this day it comes into my mind. I'll never forget. This was the first year. It was 9 months we were dating, and we went through the grocery store. And my wife doesn't eat meat or anything. She's more a vegan. She every once in a while she'll take a little piece, but she doesn't eat meat. She can eat chicken.
Yeah.
But she's more fish and salmon and vegetables. And I'm like, okay. But I remember we were going through the grocery store, and I'm just shopping, I'm looking, and I'm singing, "Sally, take me away," and she was just like, "Oh, looks like a cemetery in here." I said, "What you mean? What you talking about?" She said, "All this dead flesh." She said, "All this decomposing flesh in here." I said, "What? What do you mean?" She was just like, all of the food that you see here, this is not alive. And she said, you see the steaks and stuff, and you see the blood on it. She said, that's not the animal's blood. That's red dye, and this soaked in this stuff to put in there. You know how long that stuff. Because if you were to take that same steak that looks pink when you get it to the store, and you put it in your refrigerator for 2 days, or you take that plastic off, the thing gets brown. Really quick. And so I was just like,
Well, not only that, think about the pork meat. The pigs are so smart, and they're so emotional. So we don't ever stop to think when these animals are getting tortured and killed, guess what we're eating? We're eating all that emotion. And we have no idea that. And then we don't understand why we're feeling angry, why we're feeling that way. But you're eating, when they kill these people, all the tendons and everything is hard, and that tight. Emotion is stuck there. And then we eat it. So yeah, I'm into my vegan stuff as well.
For the longest, I just couldn't eat anything flesh, and it was just Brussels sprouts, soaked in, chicken broth and vegetables and greens and stuff like that. And then it literally took a few months before I could eat some meat again. And I eat a little bit, but every once in a while, I'm just like, or like a piece of chicken from chicken in like you see like the wrinkles in it, and it's just like,
well, now with what Bill Gates is doing with that new meat that he's making, it's like, we got to be careful now.
I heard about that they are taking, not animals, but they're taking the cells and growing the meat so they can grow a slab of meat from a cell. It's not even real animals, and the FDA just approved that.
Yep, Mexico's fighting against it, so he's asking, because he's saying that that's all carcinogenic. It's going to give us cancer. And they're putting things in there that doesn't belong in our body.
It's like, oh my God, how does that even happen? I wouldn't want to eat something that is just out and you growing it.
That's a whole different show that we got to talk about. That's ridiculous. But people aren't aware. Everybody's just wanting to go with the rat race. And the more you find out, and some people tell me, I don't want to know. I'd rather not know because I don't want to know what's going on. It's like, okay.
I'll start going into just go back to vegetables and fruit. Most of the time, I don't eat anyway. I drink more. I dehydrate easy. So I always have water or a juice or something with me. I'm even trying to get away from juice.
Add some Celtic salt and baking soda to your water and lemon every day that you drink your water. Baking soda, just a pinch of baking soda, a pinch of Celtic salt. Or if you don't want to put the salt in the water, Celtic salt.
What's Celtic salt?
It's like rock salt, and that contains 102 minerals that our body needs. So if you don't want to put it in there, put it underneath your tongue and just have it in your mouth, and your body will absorb it, and that's really good for us.
Celtic salt, baking soda, and
lemon water.
Okay, usually I do lemon or lime.
Yeah, the lime is good. But the baking, if you dehydrate a lot, that's going to help you keep hydrated.
Baking soda. Okay, I will definitely do that.
That's like when you go to the hospital and they put the IV in, that's exactly what you're drinking.
That's the saline.
That's the saline. We make our own saline with baking soda, and then you put some Celtic salt in there, and that's your saline.
Wow, okay.
So drink that.
It's interesting. Now also, talk about the weed. You do the frequency on the weed. Dispensaries actually pay you to come and pour good energy in. Why do they do that? And who are some of the people you work with? If you can talk about it.
I can talk about Jenny's dispensary. That's the one. And I work with some other dispensaries in California.
Okay.
So I'll get a pound of weed and they'll tell me this is going to be for cancer patients. It's a hybrid. Okay. So then I'll put frequencies. There's frequencies so your intestines can start moving so you can get hungry. So I'll put that frequency on there. If they can't sleep right, I'll put the frequency of 963 so they can sleep. And it's intention that we're putting in as well. So just like the plants, you know how plants are alive, correct?
Right. And you play music and right.
When you cut the weed from the plant, it's still alive. So what we do when we put the frequency is you just reactivate it. And you're reactivating it with a purpose. So the people that so he'll sell an eighth of weed for $50 for regular weed, and weed that's frequencized, he'll sell that for $85. So what people do is they don't have to smoke as much of it because it has an intention and it's frequencized. So what I've heard is the people that are smoking it, instead of taking 3 or 4 joints to get hungry, they only have to smoke 1.
Wow.
So it'll help them. People that were smoking so they can go to sleep aren't having to smoke as much.
And that's tested and proven?
It's tested.
Because I need to do that because the weed I'm smoking is garbage.
Yeah.
It's not garbage. It's garbage.
It's garbage.
I'm like, I'm paying good money behind this. And they're at this, this is going to be good. And it's got the myrcene and limonene and all this for the pain and all this.
We'll talk after this.
And I'm just like, I don't feel anything.
I'll give you some that's already frequencized, and I frequencize mine for pain as well. So I think that's going to be, I brought one for pain and one for sleep. The one that I frequencized for sleep is 963, and I kept that one frequencized for 12 hours.
Oh, wow.
And the one that I have for pain, I keep that one on for 24 hours.
Wow.
So it's basically sitting on music all the time.
Okay. Well, every time
speakers.
I get weed from now, I'm going to be like, thank you, Earth, for the weed. Use this for my creativity. Amen.
Well, I do meditation. No, you think it's funny. I do meditation bongs with veterans, and that's how we do it. I let everybody smoke. A lot of veterans, they don't want to open up. But when we're smoking, I tell them, okay, do a gratitude bong. And they're like, I'm grateful that I was able to come back home. Next person. I'm grateful I didn't have to kill so many people. Next person.
Oh, wow.
I'm grateful that I'm able to talk now. So we pass it around, and it lets them open up.
I would love to come there and to help just talk with the wounded warriors, and understand the pain more than the average person.
That would be awesome. I didn't even think of that. You would be awesome there because you understand.
And just to hear, just to be able to talk, because all of the surgeries and all of the things that I've been through, nobody that I know understands. And there's nobody to talk to. It's like when we connected, I was just like, I understand what you're going through. Yep. And so if you ever need to talk, we can talk, because I get it. And most people, they understand the best they can.
Yeah. And others,
but they don't really get it. They don't understand the pain. You have people that want to have sympathy
for you. Then you have people like you that have empathy because we go through the same thing.
And I understand the fight in the mind.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with this in the body, but then in the mind. And that's why I'm so intentional. Words matter, because I've had so much. And like I said, the custom house, a movie theater in my house, an outdoor kitchen with refrigerators. My name was in lights. My name probably still in lights. Somebody else owned the house now. I know they're probably like, who the hell is John Maurice? But they was like, he sure did do a nice job with this outdoor kitchen, with fire pillars. If you go on my Instagram and you look, you'll be able to see all of that. I still have the movie theater. I was like, I'm taking this, but that's in storage. But I'm like, once you lose everything and you feel like you have fallen and got scraped and bruised from falling from the Empire State Building all the way down to the ground, and got to start over and pick up the pieces and say, okay, all right, this is life. You understand gratitude, and then to be where I'm at right now, knowing the distance that I've walked to get to this point, and I'm doing a show and talking to people like you and with great people like Matt. Yeah. It's a miracle.
It's a rebirth.
Yeah.
Because, and it's a rebirth that we have to know mentally as well, because I'm with you. At first, it was all about all the sales. I wanted to be the best salesperson that was out there, and I was number one for a long time. And then I started training, and it was my ego. I had to feed my ego. Oh, wait, she has Louis Vuitton purse. I got to get a bigger one. Oh, she's wearing these brand shoes, Jimmy Choos. I got to get a bigger one. So that it was always that mentality. The moment I lost everything, and I was all about my face too. And the moment my mouth was to the side and my eye was drooping, and everywhere I was going, I was shaking. That was a rebirth for me, because I had two choices. I was going to be embarrassed the rest of my life and be victimized, or I was going to accept it and say, this is my story, and I'm going to release the shame. And that's what I did. I started going out, and I would tell people, you're going to see me blink for a little bit because I had a stroke. I started talking about it. And the more I talked about it, the better I felt. And then people started understanding. And when people would be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, nope, don't feel sorry for me, because I'm a survivor and I got this.
Right.
And I started changing the way I looked at it. And now I don't get embarrassed when I have a seizure. Now it's, before I would be, oh my goodness, don't look at me, hide me. I was a mess. Now, yep, I have seizures.
I'm still there a little bit. I'm more open to talking about things now, but yeah, most people would still never know. They might see me bent over. A lot of times I'll just start squatting because I'm trying to release pressure and pain. I was just at the doctor's, today's Thursday, Tuesday. They want to do surgery again because the spinal canal is closed up even more. And it was like, we need to open this up. I'm like, no.
Let me work on you a little bit. We have some machines and some stuff I want to try on your back. Because light works. Have you ever tried light therapy?
What therapy?
Light therapy.
Like a light?
Yeah, like red infrared lights and blue lights.
No, I've never heard of it.
Oh. If we put a blue light on your back, blue lights regenerate stem cells. So does infrared light. And sometimes all we need, there's a hospital in Utah. You had 500 doctors and 500 nurses that gave up their licensing so they can heal with lights, music, frequencies, and hands in Utah.
I love to find out information.
That's the next thing. Lights will do so much to your body. Light therapy is amazing, just like sound therapy. Our body was made to heal itself. All these drugs we're doing, we're just contaminating our body.
Oh, yeah.
So
I got to the point I was like, the doctors even told me, they was giving me so many prescriptions. I have everything. I mean, 850 milligrams of Oxycontin and hydrocodone and Vicodin and just whatever, the nerves, gabapentin and all of these things. And I was like, nothing was working. And the doctor was like, have you ever tried marijuana? I was like, no, never. I was like, that's a drug, doc. Yeah. What do you think this is? That's from the earth.
Yep. That's what my neurologist told me too. That's why I started with my weed. Yeah. Because I'm always on so many medications.
And it helped this because I was in such a block. I remember before I had the surgeries, I was doing a lot at like the improv and doing classes and getting ready because I had just finished singing and performing, and so I was starting to go in full throttle with comedy. And that last accident, I lost everything, the concentration, the focus. I couldn't write songs, I couldn't write jokes, nothing. And I just thought everything was over. When I came to Vegas, I didn't come to live. Literally, I just lost everything, my house, my car, my body, my surgery, everything. I really came to die. I was just like, the little bit I got, when it's gone, it's gone. Nights I'm driving 110 miles an hour on the freeway with the lights out, just ready to drive into the side. It's been many times. I can't believe I just said that.
I'm glad you did, because you're at least you're speaking about that, and that's your truth. Yeah. That sometimes people don't understand how horrible it can be when you're not okay physically, and when you don't have anybody, it affects the mental. Your body will it'll play tricks on you, but when the mind starts going that way, and I relate with you, because there's been times, like I told you, there was times I tried 3 times to take my life. 3 times. The last time I saw my body, I had to they put the shocks on me. I had taken too much of my medication, too much of valproic acid, my seizure meds. I'm like, I'll just take the whole bottle and I'm done. Yeah. And I went.
I took, I used to hear, if you take a bottle of aspirin, you'll do that. And I remember one time I was just upset and I lined up a whole bunch of the pills, and I got to 21. Sitting there, and I'm having this conversation. I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and it's like a split thing. And I'm hearing you. Why are you doing this? And I'm hearing this other voice, and you say it's the devil or whatever. I don't know what it was, but it was like, man, go ahead and take one. This ain't nothing gonna happen. Just take another one, And this conversation, it was just like, it was an out-of-body experience, but I remember it, and taking all of these. The next thing you know, I was just, after I did it, and I was laid on my bed and was just like, I just want to go. The next thing you know, I was like, my kids may come home.
Find.
Yeah. And I got up and I drove, and I was just like, I don't want to do it here. And I drove to a parking lot, and it was like a Walmart, and it was a hospital. And I was just like, just sat there for an hour. Okay, let me go here. And I was like, nothing. And I went to the hospital. I was like, what happens? I said, my friend had taken all these pills. What would happen? It was like, they need to get here now to pump the stomach. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try to go and convince them to get here. And, they probably knew it was me. But nothing happened. But I was just grateful. But I was just I was like, why was that thing telling me to do this? So it's been an interesting
because when there's
journey.
Lights like you in this world, pillars of lights, the enemy's always going to want to dim it as much as he can. And those words, I do believe you were hearing the good and the bad. And it's when your mind and your heart aren't aligned, that's a problem. That's when you start hearing the good and the bad, the little shoulder angels that we hear. And
now it's just, I think it's John 5. John 15:1-5, abide in me and I in you, and I'll give you the desires of your heart. And all of these things shall be added unto you. The cars, the houses, those are just things that, you can have those things. They're blessings or whatever, but they're not the most important
And the
thing.
treasures you're making in the heavens by doing these type of shows, to having people open up and talk and say who they really are and help them understand. That's who you really are. You're just here to uplift and empower and inspire.
That's it. And just love. That's all I ask. So every time I finish anything on video or whatever, I'm love always, John Maurice, peace.
Yep.
Because that's all I want to do now. I'm not trying to be the super flashy guy. I just want to be the best representation of myself and the light. Be the light you want to see in the world. And I just want to give love and positivity, I still got a little street with me,
So do I. That street never leaves us.
Yeah.
But you know what, John?
You're going to get,
People will see that. And when you let it go, it'll come to you. Because when you're no longer worried about what you want to do, it'll come. When you start doing acts of kindness on your own because that's who you are, people notice it. And then you start attracting the right people because the energy changes. Now you're in gratitude. So now people with gratitude are coming along. In 2011, I was nominated Woman of Distinction for the County of LA. Did I know that? Not at all. The councilman just said, Yoli, we're having a meeting. Come to the meeting. I'm over here pigging out on my fettuccine, and I'm hearing them talk about this woman that helps out the community, and I was starving. I'm eating this until I look up and I see my face. I'm like... and I spit all my food out. It was so embarrassing because I see myself like spit it all out in camera. And then they call my name up there. But the point of it is they were watching what I was doing. They gave me that award because my restaurant was a place where the homeless knew every night they came and helped me clean the restaurant. They were all going to eat there and get some money. The gangsters, I would meet with them at 11 o'clock at night, show them how to read so they can do homework with their kids. And if the ones that showed up, I had timeshare, so I would let them go on vacation with their kids in timeshare. So the city started seeing what I was doing. So that moment on, when I received that award, I didn't know what it meant. And I never hang it up because to me, awards mean nothing. If I'm making my treasures in the heaven, that's important. But one thing that this councilman told me, he said, Yoli, people are going to acknowledge you because you're not looking for acknowledgement. You're doing things from your heart. And the moment that you let your heart lead whatever you do, people are going to watch you. And I say the same thing to you. You lead with your heart, and the right people are going to see. And the ones that don't, they weren't meant to be part of your team.
Yeah. The great Muhammad Ali said, the moment that you become real, that's when things become more unreal. And all of these things are coming to you. So just be yourself, be the light, and just be love. And there's so much evil, there's so much hate, there's so much trickery, there's so many people trying to take advantage of you in the world. I just want to just be that pillar of light. Okay. Just send love and positivity. We gotta try to offset this darkness with the light. So I'm trying to just be an example and just do what's right.
And you are.
And making my way to heaven. That's what I'm trying to do.
We're doing it. We're just getting
old.
One stairway at a time.
I realize I'm getting old, so I need to be closer to God.
No, we ain't getting old. Don't say that. We young, okay? We're still young. We look 20 years old. We're still young.
Yeah, I'm youngish.
Youngish.
Well, Miss Yolanda, thank you so much for coming. I know we have to wrap up. We have to do another show because we still have so much more to talk about. Huh? But ladies and gentlemen, please, you want to tell us where they can find Healing Hearts and everything?
Yes, of course. You can go to www.healingheartsmovement.org, and that's where they can find all the information.
Okay. Anywhere else? Your Facebook, Instagram?
Facebook, it's Healing Heart Movement, and Instagram is Healing Hearts Movement as well.
Okay.
So they can find us there.
And you want to tell them your name if they want to try to find you?
Yes, you can find me, Yolanda Medrano. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm always a phone call away. Anybody that ever feels they need to be reminded who they really are, they can go ahead and talk to me, and I'll remind them.
Do you want to give your number, or we can put it up there?
Yeah, we can put our number up. My number is 702-927-3184.
And Yolanda
Medrano.
All right. There you have it. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you too.
Healing Hearts, Yolanda, she is amazing. She's doing the work. She's doing a great work, but not even just here in the Las Vegas, Nevada area, but across the world. I mean, we got so much more to talk about. You're doing stuff in Israel? I
do things in, I have youth that I was sponsoring to go to school in Harar, Ethiopia. I have a son there. I call him my son. So I have there, and I have in Thailand. I support a school. that we donate to, and we make sure that they have the things that they need.
In Thailand, you got to put me in on this. I need to be able to give.
Of course,
something. Anything helps. Something helps. It doesn't matter. If
even
you
just
give
getting you on the phone with them. My kids love, and even in Mexico too, I have kids that we support, and we're teaching them that their story matters. So even you getting on the phone and saying hi to them, they feel like, oh, somebody that's from America said hi to me. So I got to get you on the phone.
I'd love to be a part, and I'd love to go. I want to go.
Okay, let's do that. That'd be awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Miss Yolanda Medrano.
Medrano. Thank you so much, John, for giving me this platform and letting me speak about what we do.
Always. And you're welcome back. Your family here at Words Matter.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. You've seen another episode of Words Matter with John Maurice. I'm your host, John Maurice. Love always and peace. I'll see you next time. Take care. Words Matter with John Maurice.